And in the last 2.5 years, we have had over 100 teachers trained in the South Island of New Zealand, over 50 teachers trained in the North Island of New Zealand, and that has impacted around about 50 schools. So there's about 50 schools in New Zealand that are aware of what we do, which is really, really exciting. What we know, though, is that once we've done a workshop, one of the problems we're finding is that the mentoring and follow-up stuff needs to be done. Otherwise, teachers drop off. You know how teachers are really, really good at going, yes, 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 I'll do it, and then not? And so what we've implemented in Davis Learning Strategies New Zealand is mentoring sessions after each workshop, and that is working fabulously. So we can bring Davis Learning Strategies in at 5 years of age and get some absolutely astounding results. So Jane here has just been released from her school to do a principal sabbatical, and with that she took 10 weeks out of school and visited the schools that have been doing Davis Learning Strategies. What Jane has found, is just looking at a very small snapshot, so only 6 months of doing Davis Learning Strategies in classrooms, the schools that have put in the whole DLS program, so kept true to Ron and Sharon and their intention of the program, they're experiencing 72 to 86% increase for those children that were failing learners. So we're not even looking at our average learners, we're looking at those that are below our New Zealand curriculum expectations. And we can lift, in one school it was 19 out of 22 children, which is just astounding. That means instead of having 22 children failing, we have 3. It's really, really exciting. What we also notice is those schools that are coming along with the best of intentions and then going back and only picking and choosing the little bits of Davis they think are fabulous or that works best for them, they're experiencing a 55 to 60% increase. What we've also found is way back in 2012, when Alma started working with a little school near the bottom of the South Island, Strathclyde, we saw these increases in their reading achievement. So that 2012 data on the left there, they're at 73, 74%. And the more that Davis Learning Strategies was brought in, the greater they became. So we've got the percentage of students that are above our national curriculum level increased from in 2012 to that 73% mark up to 85% 3 years later. So within 3 years. So then Jane has collated the same information from her current school, and you started the data a couple of years later, but we're still seeing that same trend. You bring it in at the beginning, you see a change. You continue and bring it in more wholly, and we get better and better results over time. And it tracks very, very similarly, despite it being a few years apart.
It's been 7 years since national standards came into primary schools, and there's a lot of debate about whether comparing children as young as 5 is very constructive or even healthy.
So what we got here is one little school in South Canterbury adamant it has found the answer, and an answer that politely ignores national standards. And do you know what? It is getting results. Rachel Parkin went to see for herself.
Tucked away south of Waimati, blink and you will miss it. But these Waiau Downs kids wouldn't miss school for the world.
The kids adore school. They run in from the bus. They can't wait to get here.
5 years ago, they got a new assignment, an American learning system originally for big people with dyslexia.
My brother's dyslexic, my dad's dyslexic, and I'd seen the power of the Ron Davis Correctional Program.
For these guys just learning to read, in fact, learning to learn, Ron Davis is A+.
We're getting them before all the confusion, all the stress, all the anxiety, because ultimately school shouldn't be hard.
You see, we all start life as picture thinkers, but not every word has an image.
Right, touch the letters and say them.
N-I-A-G-A.
Good girl. Can you say it forwards now?
A-G-A.
N-I-N.
Good. Charlie, can you spell it backwards for me?
N-I-N-G-A.
They can find the word, they can find the image in their mind.
Before you can learn to read, you have to focus. And before you can focus, you sometimes need to calm down. Can you show me what release looks like? You're feeling pretty calm and zen now?
Yeah.
Once that's sorted, it's time to turn your dial. Your what?
Well, there's kind of something in my mind that just it's got all the numbers up to 10. It can be 9 or 1, and 1's when you're like asleep, and then 9's when you're like jumping all over the room.
They tend to go home and tell their parents that they need to think about where their dial's at. And
How does that go down?
Parents often come in with a bit of a chuckle.
The idea is once a dial hits 5, a child's ready to learn. And once getting there becomes easy, reading is easier too.
So we've gone from children who were anxious about reading, that often tried to get out of reading, to children who are confident, they know how to read, and they just fly.
YR Downs results are flying too. After 4 years using Ron Davis, 90% of year 4 to 6 kids, that's ages 9 to 11, were at or above the national standard, a staggering 34% jump from before. It's not that YR Downs is snubbing national standards. They do still do everything by the book. They just don't push 5 and 6 year olds to reach those standards.
Other countries don't actually start their children reading till they're 7. And they can teach them to read in a very short period of time.
12-year-old Spike's been right through the program. He's dyslexic. What was it like before for you?
I kept on mucking up and not knowing what the words were and getting distracted.
And now?
It's much easier.
Now you're nailing it, eh?
Yeah.
The YO Downs motto is a rural school letting kids be kids.
Giving every child a chance.
With their new Ron Davis video soon to hit Australian schools, it may also be their legacy.
Kia ora. My name is Jonah Sorenson, and as you see, we've been really lucky that the New Zealand public has taken on board Ron Davis's work. And as a result of this video, it's pretty much that went New Zealand-wide, and it has kick-started Davis learning strategies throughout New Zealand. Okay, so we're really lucky in New Zealand that we have this wonderful thing called the Education Review Office, which looks at all of the schools throughout New Zealand. It's like a quality control. And they gave us this quote, which I thought would be good to share with you too. And it's been a way of getting into schools. I know lots of you as facilitators have struggled about getting the Davis ideas into schools, but this is for us been quite key. ERO identified that YO Downs had adapted an effective learning strategy that supports students to actively prepare for learning, and this positively supports students' increased engagement in their learning, which is a huge thing. Throughout New Zealand, we have a growing number of dysregulated children, and it's becoming quite prevalent. So for us, as educationists in New Zealand, there is a real need to how do we support and give these children the tools that they need to basically access learning. And the Davis learning strategies are fantastic for that. The focusing strategies have provided our teachers with a tool that underpins all of the other curriculum stuff. We're also really lucky in New Zealand that we've got quite a New Zealand curriculum document, has this as its vision statement. Young people, that in New Zealand, the sole goal of education in New Zealand is to prepare children, young people who will be confident, connected, actively involved, lifelong learners. Ron Davis could have written that. So, but for us, it's given us a start in a way to get into schools. Schools want the best for their kids. Teachers don't get into teaching unless they want to help people improve. But the really powerful thing about the Davis learning strategies is that it creates the platform in which any other school curriculum can sit on top of.